Hello BookTube. This is part 3 of my 2022 library tour. Today I'll be showing you my writing books. My writing books have always been on shelves that are built into my desk. They've been sharing this space for about a year with my art books. Originally I had them in the living room with the cookbooks, but the entertainment center I was using as a bookcase for them, we exchanged it for a different one, and with the intention of that entertainment center housing my mom's books, which didn't exactly happen, but oh well. So today we'll be finishing off the desk shelves. Anyway, so first of all, the book, or the writing book that fell behind the others. And that is The Essential Handbook for Writers by Jane E. Aaron. I've had this book since college. It was one of the required texts for my writing class, or I don't quite remember what it was. It was like, because it was, because how St. Edward's did it when I went, or when I was a student there, was freshman students had an introduction to liberal arts class, and which was a lecture, and then there was a sort of a writing class sort of attached to it. And I think all students had this book in part to help with the writing, but mostly I think to have the Citation Manual, because of course, I mean, it's in academic writing, you have to cite your sources, and this helps you cite your sources. I haven't really looked at it in forever. I mean, it basically fell behind the other books, and I've forgotten about it until I pulled the others off and to clean the shelves, because while I'm doing this library tour, I might as well clean the shelves as well. And I just was, oh, that's where that book went. Anyway, so getting on to the other books. First up is Wonderbook by Jeff Vandermeer. This is a wonderful writing guide, edited by, or written by, one of the biggest names in new weird fiction. And I think if I were to draw a critique for this book, it's that for all of the book's strengths, Jeff Vandermeer very much is writing this for potential writers of the new weird, for writers whose styles may not necessarily be too different from his, which is what it is. But there are also a number of really interesting takes. One thing is just how many revisions a lot of these writers have had to go through for their work. There's also a number of recommendations for writers and stuff. So, I mean, it's really interesting, and the style is quite fun and unique. There's like artwork and stuff like that. So it's a really fun book. And it's one of my favorite writing books. Next up is The Fantasy Fiction Formula by Deborah Chester. Again, this is a writing book geared towards writers of fantasy. It's rather good. I remember liking it. It's been a while since I've read it. There's a really exhaustive character creation sheet in this book, I think, and stuff. So we probably should revisit this at some point. Next up is, again, a science fiction and fantasy writing book, and that is The Guide to Writing Fantasy and Science Fiction by Philip Athens. I picked this up, in Christmas of 2017, alongside the Flatman and the McKinley art books. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. This is a very good introduction to writing science fiction and fantasy. And Athens is a pretty good, I think, writing teacher. He also has a blog that he's been writing for years, which is what got me interested in his book. Next up is a writing guide by one of YouTube's own, AuthorTube's own, and that is on Writing and World Building by Timothy, Volume 1 by Timothy Hickson, who on YouTube has a channel, Hello Future Me, where he explores a number of archetypes and world building elements through a critical look at other media, mostly Avatar: The Last Airbender and The Legends of Korra and a few others. I like this book for the most part, although it is, by the fact that it is volume 1, only half a writing guide. And even then, it's mostly world building. There isn't much in the way of like plotting, construction, that sort of thing. It's mostly world building. And, well, sorry about that. So yeah, I mean, so it's, for what it is, it's quite good, but it's only half a book, in a way. Although Volume 2 has come out, although I don't know if it's also a print book or if it's just an ebook. Anyway. And next up is, and the writers are also in YouTube as the Book Doctors. And their book is The Essential Guide to Getting Your Book Published by Ariel Eckstedt and David Henry Sterry. I haven't looked at this yet. I mean, I've had it for a while, and I really have enjoyed the Book Doctor's YouTube channel, although they haven't published anything or uploaded a video in ages. I need to really check and look and see if I've just been missing it or something. But yeah, I love their content, although I haven't really gotten to this book yet. I really should. Maybe sometime this year I'll finally get around to this one. Next up is crafting novels and short stories from the editors of Writer's Digest, which I haven't gotten to yet. Really should. And there's The Anatomy of Story by John Truby. Creating Character Arcs by K.M. Wayland. Dynamic Characters, How to Create Personalities That Keep Readers Captivated by Nancy Kress. I've read this book and it is quite good. Has a really interesting character creation sheet. So yeah. And this originally came from, the thing about it, from Better World Books or like Discover, Owls, Hippo, one of those. And this originally came from the Newton County Library System. Next is another book by Nancy Kress, and that is Beginnings, Middles, and Ends. And then I have another book on creating characters, Breathing Life into Your Characters by Rachel Ballin. And then we have, moving on to a different genre, The Ultimate Guide to Video Game Writing and Design by Flint Dill and John Zur Platten. This is a wonderful look at creating and writing for video games. It also has probably the best character creation sheet I've ever seen, and one of the best or only like organizational chart for like fictional organizations and stuff like that. So yes, this is a really good book. I've read it several times. Next up is another writing science fiction book, although this one is a bit different in take. This is Putting the Science in Fiction, edited by Dan Cobbold. So what this book does is it takes various scientific elements and sort of extrapolates what you can do in a science fiction context. Also, how to get the science right. So some of the subjects in here are like, let's see here. So like there's a chapter on the science of Jurassic Park, one on the near future of human genome engineering, by some books on sections on mental disorders, stuff like that. It's interesting, although I didn't quite get on with it, to be honest. Next up is a slim book on style. It's The Elements of Style, Everything You Need to Know to Write by William Strunk Jr. And finally, we end with The Art of a series of writing books, or really more essays. First up is The Art of Description, World into Word by Mark Doughty. This is a fantastic book. Really enjoyed it. I've enjoyed all of them. Next is The Art of Intimacy, The Space Between by Stacey D. Erasmo. Again, a really good book. And then we have The Art of Perspective, Who Tells the Story by Christopher Castellani. And finally, ending the writing book section of my library, The Art of Subtext, Beyond Plot by Charles Baxter. So that concludes part 3 of my 2022 library tour. Tomorrow I will be moving on to the poetry section. The poetry is still perpetually paltry, even though I am in the process of getting more poetry. None this month, but we shall see about future months. So anyway, BookTube, I will see you tomorrow with part 4 of my 2022 library tour and weekly read. So until then, BookTube, thank you, have a great afternoon, and stay safe.